I've made a list of 8 ways I had a disgustingly unfair advantage over the competition that helped me close a lot of deals. It takes virtually zero experience to actually do. Let's go and dive right in, which is number 1, I anticipated common objections, questions, and stalls, and I prepared against them. Now, if you have done even a handful of calls, you start realizing there's often really common questions and objections that keep popping up. And the more calls you've done, the more you're going to see these things pop up. And if you anticipate common objections or concerns, you can start minimizing or eliminating those by making sure you ask the right questions up front to eliminate those objections. On top of that, if there are common things that pop up that lead to stalls, you can prepare in advance as well to make sure you overcome that. So for example, in the last company I was at, oftentimes there's a very, very competitive sale and the customer would want to see, or the prospect would want to see the competition, see their products, see what they had to offer, etc. And what I would do in advance was I would actually have copies of their agreement, I had copies of their invoice. I even had samples of their product that I could just showcase and minimize that stall to see if it was even legitimate. And by being so prepared and being such a pro and anticipating their concerns, the prospect will be like, wow, dang, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And now build a lot of trust and have them move forward with me a lot faster. So that's number 1, anticipate those type of things. Number 2, know them better than they know themselves. So when you truly understand your ICP, ideal customer profile, your target market, you know everything about them, their needs, their wants, their desires, all their psychographics, their language, how they explain their problem, how they feel about their problem. And when you know them inside and out by doing the proper research in advance, by getting to know them, by talking to enough of them, you become really an expert, if you will, in their target market. So when you understand that, that allows you to become more insightful with the questions you ask, so you can ask better questions, but also bring insights to them as well, in which they become more enlightened. And the more they feel like you actually know them and understand them, this builds a high level of trust between you and them versus a competition who's not willing to get to know them to that deep level. Number 3, build muscle memory. So in everything that you do, from every part of the sales process, from making calls to the discovery call to the demo to every piece, you want to have zero hesitation in every part of the process, because ultimately this will build trust with them and it makes you stand out. When you are fluid with it all, it helps you become even more powerful. So I'll give you an example here. So a lot of people are using auto dialers now, where the auto dialers, where they're at their laptop or a desktop and it's going through, and the auto dialer is going through calling, and once it connects, then it clicks onto you and you actually will answer and run the call. Now, sometimes the mistake some people make is they're in that almost robot mode on their laptop, so when it clicks through and connects, the rep, if they're not prepared, they stumble. And there's a pause between when the prospect says hello and then they go into their whatever they're going to say, their opener, but there's too much of a delay between the connection to what they say. It can decrease the chances of them actually booking. But also, when you're not mentally prepared for that, it decreases your chance of actually being able to book the meeting or run the call. So when you have that muscle memory dial in your head where once they answer, you're able to just flow into your opener, now you come off like a pro. You have that level of executive acumen that really, really stands out. So build muscle memory in every part of your process. And that, of course, simply requires you just taking the time to put the work in to build repetition, to build the muscle memory. Number 4, insane attention to detail and intentionality. And this is in like literally everything. So for example, they have a name that's maybe not as easily pronounced, and you realize and you learn that, then you write down how it's pronounced phonetically and start utilizing it as part of your conversation with them, right? And that's just a really simple example, but when you also start referencing back things that they discussed already, that's wildly powerful. The mistake a lot of people make is they may ask some great question discovery, but then they never actually bring it back. So when you're able to be 100% present and you listen to what they say and how they describe their pains and concerns and issues, and you're able to repeat back throughout the conversation with them, this again will build massive trust. Now, this also means being so present that you don't end up asking the same question multiple times. And unfortunately, I've seen call recordings where a salesperson will ask one question up front, maybe they didn't pay attention or take notes, and then they ask it again 20 minutes later or the next call. And if that happens consistently, that decreases trust with the prospect, because they're like, wow, if this person can't even pay attention in our call, what's it going to be like when I'm actually going to be a customer for them? So again, if you want to have a disgusting, unfair competitive advantage, make sure that you are actually paying attention and have this level of attention detail. And again, this is across the board, from how you speak to the emails you write to everything. Number 5, communicate like an exec. So oftentimes, if you're selling into the C-suite, they act in a completely different way than your typical like low-level person, if you will. So if you understand that, you want to make sure when you're speaking with them, you are speaking at their same level. So what you want to make sure to do is you want to remove any type of weak language that you might have. If it's like, yeah, you don't sound confident, or if you don't sound like you have conviction, they're not going to want to continue a conversation with you. Because again, remember, when they're making a buying decision, they're not just deciding to invest in the company, they also decide to invest into you as well. So you want to be able to articulate that you are at the same level that they are at. Now, a few other things as well is you want to make sure you watch your tonality and you want to adjust it based on the situation. On top of that, when you communicate with them as well, you want to make sure you write very well too, because how you write and how you communicate, if there's a disconnect there, that can also drive down their trust level with you. So for example, if you're writing in big, lengthy, chunky blocks, or there's tons of grammatical errors and spelling errors, and it doesn't make sense, doesn't logically flow, it's hard to read, again, that's going to create resistance with them towards you. And look at my notes here. Also, you want to make sure the flow of the call. How's the flow? Is it smooth? Is it choppy? How does it actually feel? And I've seen some calls where it's very choppy, very transactional, where the salesperson is just going through like a checklist of questions, and that's very awkward and uncomfortable, versus if it's actually conversational in the natural flow of it, and it goes back with almost melodic, if you will, they walk away having increased trust in you, and they see you at a higher perceived level than someone else who has a choppy discovery process or anything else like that. Number 6, show up like a boss. This is such an easy thing to do. That's 100% controllable. You know, like, number 1, are you punctual? Like, are you showing up on time to the call you have set? That's one small detail where, unfortunately, many people just, for some reason, are just not good at. But when you actually show up consistently at the right time, it builds your trust with them. And if they're late, it is what it is. That's them. But at least for you, you can control you show up on time. Number 2, as part of this as well, is how do you dress? Are you dressing the part that matches the value proposition you want to deliver for your prospect that aligns with the industry? So for example, if you're working from home, which a lot of people are, and you work at your laptop and you're selling to the C-suite, you're selling to the enterprise space, what are you personally wearing? Are you wearing a torn, dirty shirt? Are you wearing a hoodie with a backwards hat? If that's the image they expect of you, it's a little bit different. But if they're expecting some sort of professional look, and I'm not saying it to be a shirt and tie, but are you aligned to the image you want to portray to them properly so that you show up like a boss to them as well? On top of that, think about how do you show up if it's on Zoom, on camera to them, or if it's face to face. How do you show up? Are you slouched over? Are you leaned over? All of that drives a different impact to the conversation with them. So in whatever viewing window they have, whether it's on a Zoom camera or if it's face to face, how do you actually physically show up? Because that, again, will set you apart versus a rep who does not pay attention to these type of things and they're just being lackadaisical. Number 7, master tonality. And tonality is one of those powerful things where when you can master tonality, this allows you so much power in asking tough questions, being able to adjust to different personality types, etc. And when you're able to actually ask tough questions, this shows a lot of confidence and conviction, which again increases your trust and gives you an unfair advantage to the average rep who's not able to do so. Number 8, this is simple to say, but it's hard to do, which is follow through with everything you say. Whatever you promised, you deliver on. Now, tons of salespeople or people in general talk a big game, but few will actually deliver. That's why those who can actually deliver on the word, you actually have a lot of respect for, because most don't do that. So, for example, if you promise you're gonna send an email by the end of the day, do it. Don't do the next day. If you promise that you can send them certain things, do it. Follow through with everything you say, because again, you have to earn their trust. And if you don't do things you commit to, they will reflect how you show up to the back end of the process. And when you think about even these 8 things, they're actually wildly simple, but when you do them and you do it consistently, it gives you a disgustingly unfair advantage over the competition, because it takes a little bit of preparation, it takes virtually no skill to do these things, but it shows consistency that you can do it really well. Because the average rep is just showing up as an average rep and they're not intentional about these things. But those who actually do these 8 things consistently, you're shown up as a trusted advisor. When you show up as a trusted advisor, trust goes up. It does take a little bit of work up front to make sure you get really good at these things, for sure. But the skill level, it doesn't require much skill. It requires simply just trying to do it well. And when you do these type of things really, really well, it will set you apart from the competition and ultimately help you earn trust faster, close deal faster, and be able to close bigger deals as well. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like below and a comment. Let me know what was the number 1 takeaway for you personally. What will you work on in the next 30 days to improve your sales, get to the next level? And also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe as well, and I'll see you in the next video.